Hey, what's up? I'm back already. Hey, video number 2 is here. The journey has began. But yeah, I'm back. I got the football. We're here to talk about Aquaman 2. So Aquaman 2 dropped on December 22nd. I know in my video yesterday I said it dropped on Christmas. It was around that time, you know. I didn't end up seeing it until about like the 26th, I believe. But yeah, it was an intriguing movie to say the least. I mean, first of all, it was the last movie that the DCEU was putting out before, you know, everything goes to James Gunn's DCU. You know, we're finally gonna have some actual, you know, vision in mind for the movies that come out. You know, also it's the sequel to, I'm pretty sure, like the highest grossing DCEU movie, right? Because that Aquaman 1 made $1 billion. I don't think any other movies made that. I think Batman v Superman might have gotten close, right? I think it made like 900 mil, but no. Aquaman 1 made $1 billion, right? So I was honestly intrigued to see how much money this movie would make, just because all the hold on, I dropped the football. It's alright, I got it. But Aquaman 1, you know, made $1 billion, just like I said. But all the recent DCEU movies, like The Flash, Blue Beetle, I don't know, other movies that I can't remember right now. There's movies like The Flash and Blue Beetle. They've all been making like so little money. They're losing money on these projects, right? Warner Bros. Discovery is not doing well. And some of them, you know, not deserved. I mean, Blue Beetle was actually pretty solid. But you know, it's made like the least amount of money, made less than The Flash. It's just an unfortunate state of affairs, you know. People are looking at these DC movies and they're like, they've been making trash. Why would I even want to give this movie a chance, you know? That's how people are looking. And unfortunately, that's spreading into Aquaman 2, the sequel to $1 billion movie, right? Like it's having terrible starts. It's like opening weekend was like what, like 10 mil? I'm just throwing numbers out there, but it was relatively low, especially compared to its you know, first movie, and it's definitely not gonna hit that billion mark. I don't even know if it's gonna make money back, which is really bad. There's still decent movies out there that are making money, and hopefully the James Gunn's DCU can be some of those movies that make money. Because I mean, people want to go see the Batman, people want to go see Joker when those drop, even, you know, when the other DC movies are doing shit, you know. So hopefully the DCU can help Warner Bros. Discovery, you know, make even more money. But yeah, Aquaman 2 dropped. I went to see it. I didn't feel the best about it. Honestly, it's nothing like the first movie. One thing I think that also affected this movie, you know, box office wise, it was so spread apart from the first movie. The first movie came out in like 2018. It's been 5 years for a sequel, you know. Like, this is an Avatar. You can't just go and wait double-digit amount of years to drop a sequel, you know. And honestly, it even hit me. And you know, I watch superheroes, I rewatch superheroes movies all the time. When I first was watching it, and you know, Randall Park showed up, I had forgotten that he was even working with Black Manta. And that's the time factor. It's been 5 years since I've seen the movie, and they actually tried to, like, you know, reference a lot of things so people could get reminded. But I think at a certain point it just got like too much. Like, you were doing too many flashbacks to the first movie. You know, it's a sequel, so you should expect people to remember it because, you know, they're there for the second movie. They're like, oh, I wonder what this character is gonna do next. And they were just throwing flashbacks in everywhere. I understand some, but like others, they were kind of unnecessary. Like towards the end, Orm and Aquaman were both holding onto the Black Trident, right? And you know, Aquaman's, you know, saying, "Hey, look, we're brothers. Come on, man, don't do this." And I'll talk about that scene in a second, but like just to talk about the flashbacks a little bit more, he was holding onto the trident, and he was like, "Hey, don't do this." And then there's like some flashbacks of the first movie of them, like, you know, being like loving brothers or whatever. Because they played out like 3 scenes during that part, 3 scenes from the first movie, and I was like, okay, you didn't have to do that. You probably could have just gotten away with 1, but it was like they were trying to remind people. They were like, hey, these 2 are brothers. They had some good times. It's like you didn't have to do all that. Honestly, you could have calmed down with the flashbacks. There are also situations where basically, you know, some character would get to some place and, you know, they just keep on rolling and we never learn how they actually got into that scenario. Like when Aquaman was breaking out, you know, his brother, he would basically just kind of show up, do a little thing. Like he like had like an invisibility belt or whatever, or no, invisibility suit that he was using to break in, and he kind of just showed up. But they just kind of showed up. They didn't really go over any type of plan. And then once he breaks him out, they gotta like run out. Like, why don't you just go out the same way you got in? Like, there's no way you got in the same way you got out, because the way they got out was so much more reckless. It's just things like that. There were a few holes in the plot where it was just like, okay, you're just trying to move the story along, but like, you didn't really think part of your plot through. And yeah, you know, that was just the whole thing. Like, it didn't feel like James Wan wanted to direct this, or that he really wanted to try on this, because it didn't feel like he wanted to try. His first movie was like really good, you know. There were multiple fight scenes where it felt like a one shot, you know. Maybe they even were one shots, and they were like the most visually stunning things that were in the movie, right? You know, you had the fight with his mom in the little lighthouse at the start of the movie. You had the fight with Mera and Aquaman against Black Manta in the city, right? And you just didn't have those type of fights in this movie, right? All the fights, and there was more action in this movie, I feel like, or maybe the same amount of action, but either way, all the fights were, you know, they had a bunch of jump cuts, which, you know, jump cuts are fine, but like when you have that first movie that have all these one-shot scenes, and then this movie which only has like jump cut fight scenes, it just hits different, you know. Me personally, I like one-shot fight scenes, and like, you know, they don't have to be in a movie, they don't have to be in a TV show, anything, right? But if you have it in the original movie, it's almost like expected that they're in the second movie. Another thing that this movie had a big problem with, and this came from like multiple other DC movies as well, like Shazam, Black Adam, and now it's in Aquaman too. I don't understand why it keeps happening. It's even happening in the MCU a little bit, but you know, you got one villain that ends up being overshadowed by another villain, right? And in this case, it's Black Manta, who has a really good case for being a villain, right? And then there's just some random demon, and it's like, why do you have this random demon? Just have Black Manta, you know, get the Black Trident, give him some power, and then have him do his own thing, right? But in the end, it's like the real villain is this demon who's all powerful and shit. And I get that's the title of the movie, right? Aquaman the Lost Kingdom, and that demon is related to the Lost Kingdom. But either don't do the Black Manta storyline, or just do the Black Manta storyline and retitle the movie. Like, I don't understand why you're combining two stories, right? And this is happening a lot in superhero media right now. I don't understand why. You go into these movies, you write these scripts, and you're combining two storylines into one, and they don't always work. And then towards the end, they even had Orm pick up the trident, and like him like be overtaken by his inner urges. I mean, something that we hadn't seen all the whole movie. Like it was just out of nowhere, and he's over here like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take back the throne. Like Aquaman was telling him earlier he'd probably be a better king, right? Almost like welcoming him to, you know, there's a fly. He was almost welcoming him to take the throne back in like the future, right? Like Aquaman's like, I don't even like this job that much, right? So Orm had no reason to be so villainous about taking back the throne, right? But for some reason, when he catches the trident, it's like, oh, I'm gonna be a villain again. Like, we already dealt with that in the first movie. It doesn't need to happen here. You're supposed to be giving Orm like a redemption arc from his first movie. By the end of the movie, you had already liked Orm a lot because of what he was doing. You had already forgiven him. One good thing that I really did like about this movie are the set pieces. I mean, the first movie had some really nice set pieces as well, you know, like the whole city, the lighthouse, of course. This one, you know, they took us to a whole volcano, like a little volcano lair type thing. That was really cool. We also went to the Lost Kingdom, of course. You know, these were really beautiful places to go. You know, obviously we get the underwater Atlantis again. Honestly, the fight in the in the volcano lair, this fly is crazy, I swear. But the fights in the little volcano lair were like really cool, honestly. That was my favorite scene, honestly. You know, we got to see Black Manta, you know, be Black Manta. We got to see Aquaman and Orm fight off, like display their strength. against like these mechanical robots. It was a really nice scene. One thing I wish we would have seen more though is Aquaman using his trident, because he didn't use it like, I don't think at all, if I remember. Maybe he used it once, but like this one, he didn't use it all. He used it like once maybe. Which kind of sucks because it's now he's just strong guy, you know. That's something I also thought about when him and Orm were out in like the jungle on the desert. I was sitting there and I was like, okay, so Aquaman is just like this strong dude right now because he's not using his water abilities at all. I guess, you know, he didn't do it that. Yo, I swear this fly is crazy. But no, he didn't use his trident, I guess, a lot in the first movie, but he definitely used it more, and it definitely made him more than just some, you know, big body, strong dude who can fight off anything. But yeah, I'm gonna rank Aquaman 2 on 4 categories. It's gonna be action, plot, visuals, and creativity. And then I'm gonna give like an overall review, which is just gonna be the average of those 4. So for action, I'm gonna give it a 6.5. I'm gonna go with a 6.5 out of 10. Like I said, I really enjoyed that fight in the volcano line, but besides that, you know, it was just missing what James Wan had brought to the action scenes in the first movie. So I have to drop a few points. I'm gonna stick with a 6.5. For visuals, I'm gonna give a 7.5. I thought we got to see some really nice places, you know, the volcano, wherever Orm was stored up. I thought those places were really cool. They weren't fantastic, but they were pretty nice as well. So there's nothing really wrong with them. For plot, I'm gonna give a 4 out of 10. You know, I said you got 2 villains for no reason, and these 2 villains don't really need to coexist. You know, they don't bounce off of each other at all. One of them is basically just a shoehorn for the other one, which is really annoying. Happens a lot. It's getting boring. I like the part. I like how Aquaman, you know, needed his brother to help stop Black Manta. That part is all fine, but having this extra demon is just extra shit for no reason. Hey, they did a good job of keeping Amber Heard out of the movie for the most part. That was a good thing. Dang. For creativity, I'm gonna go with the 6 out of 10. You know, it's cool that they kind of wanted to make a little like kind of buddy movie with Aquaman and Orm. That was all right. I mean, at times it was just kind of like, I don't know if the tone's right, you know. It's interesting that they, you know, had him have a son. I felt like that was just kind of out of nowhere, but it's been years, so I guess, you know, in that amount of time, he would have had to have done something like life-changing to him. I do like the Black Trident, I like Black Manta in this movie, but just having this little like demon spitting in his ear about all this stuff, I don't know, that probably was unnecessary. It really should have just been a Black Manta versus Aquaman movie with Orm, of course, because Orm actually fits for, you know, just a Black Manta versus movie. There's so much backstory on that, you know, Aquaman leaving his father to die. That's enough for a good movie right there. And then, you know, you can have that scene where he's like, you know, holding out for Black Manta, and you can have the same thing happen. But when it happened in this movie, it was just it was just weird, because it was like, okay, I thought we were done with Black Manta. We were just looking at this stupid demon. Like, I don't know if it was the reshoots or if it was something else, but it definitely needed someone to look over it again. It felt too similar to other movies that also had these same plot issues. But yeah, taking the average of those 4, I end up with a 6 out of 10 for Aquaman 2. Honestly, I think that's a little bit more generous than I thought I'd give it, but I mean, those are my ratings. But yeah, I'm giving Aquaman 2 a 6 out of 10. Not the greatest, but not the worst. It's got some plot issues and, you know, shoehorned in villains that just didn't need to be there. And I think it's really the plot that brings it down, honestly. A lot of the other things about it, like, you know, the action, the visuals, the creativity, you know, those things are pretty solid. But the plot is just, it doesn't fit. It's bad. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Aquaman 2. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments. I'm thinking my next video will probably be reviewing Marvel's What If Season 2. I'm almost finished with it, actually, so, and I'm actually liking it so far, so, you know, I'm excited to go over that. I might do like an episode by episode review as well. So we'll see how that goes. But hey, stay tuned for next time. Thank you for watching.